Hello, and thank you for returning to the Let's Make It Make Sense campaign in 2026 with Elisha Gresham. This video was approved by me, Elisha Gresham. All right, let's get into our disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Source is Circular 92, Copyright Law of the United States, 17 U.S.C., Section 107. Okay, we have already tackled in our last video about the importance of getting registered to vote in order to make these changes and make things possible. The only way things can get better is if we vote. So head out there, get registered if you're not, get to your voting stations, find out where they are, especially if you're going to be doing early voting. Sometimes the stations aren't the same. So with that being said, let's move on. We've now have main issues that our campaign would really love to get into more in depth with the daily living expenses, which includes maintaining that American dream or achieving the American dream or trying to get a piece of that American pie. Groceries, gas, meds, health coverage and utilities, building and land permits, traffic, road safety issues, improved community resources, insurance affordability, the possibility of gentrification, elder and disability issues, meaning people on fixed income and their concerns. They have a lot of concerns. And that's just to name a few. Remember, you vote the same, you get the same results. Now, here's the thing is, I had this video up, similar video like this up before, but I took it down and I wanted to readdress the issues the correct way. Because first I wanted to get out the other video of, getting out the importance of being registered to vote and actually voting. Not just complaining all over social media. Go do something about it. And stop thinking that your vote doesn't count. It does count. And we need to make sure that happens. Okay, what our campaign is seeking is to achieve and to reduce unnecessary building permits that can possibly hinder the stability of our communities. And let's begin with all of this building, with all of these fast food restaurants, bar and family grill restaurants, all in the area. Some of these stores and franchises are only 2 to 3 miles apart, and they're the same franchisor. It's not as if we don't have enough diabetes, blood pressure, stroke issues, high cholesterol, and heart disease. We have enough of that going on. But it's really being pushed out there on the public. So the public doesn't even realize that this is part of the building. And we're almost on the verge of being the characters in Disney's Pixar Wall-E, which is you see the people in these red jumpsuits. They are actually riding on airborne chairs that they never have to worry about getting out of because the robots and AI do all the work for them. They are just looking at digital screens. But lo and behold, if they try to get out of them chairs and walk, well, they're probably going to fall all over the place and be sore because they have not use their muscles in God knows when. And we don't want to become that. That is very unhealthy, as you can see. But that is the message in it. It's still a very fun family movie, though. And I encourage people to watch it because of the message that's in it. Okay? And also, with all of that unhealthiness of subliminal messaging, building all these restaurants all over the place, comes the overwhelming in our medical centers, in medical clinics. They become overwhelmed, and we don't want to overwhelm them with unnecessary illnesses that could really be avoided if we just take more care in our communities and what's being built in them, if our local government, listens. And we have to stop, handing out building permits like candy. That we must stop. And you just can't keep handing out building permits, and not even taking into consideration what it can affect. See, the negative impact unchecked building permits can have on our communities and environments, from overdevelopment, poor planning, and disregard for voters' needs due to greed, the lack of respect, checks and balances, and continued failure to listen. I don't even really need to go more deeper than that. But Fort Meade, their data center project, that is one thing that's been in the papers, it's been in the news or whatever, and it's really been one of the bigger, hotter topics because it's an alleged $2.6 billion project. Apparently it's been in the works for years, and I'm going to get into that. And I'm sure they're going to receive a tax incentive if they haven't already. It has a required space of needing approximately 1,400 acres. Also, they're going to require 4.4 million square feet of internal space. Now, people, if you think about that, that's a lot of space internally. I mean, on the average person only has about maybe 900 square feet up to about 3,500 square feet, or maybe even 4,000 in some cases. But 4.4 million square feet, that's a lot of space. As well as look at the utilities that it's going to require. It's going to require 50,000 gallons of water per day. That's a lot of water. And it's going to also require an immense amount of electricity. And what does all of this say for the environment, including the wildlife? How would this impact the quality of air we breathe? Who stands to gain? The corporate, county officials, or the community? And did the community residents vote for this? Did they vote for more pollution? It's going to increase. The pollution will increase. But so I guess we're okay with that. I guess the county and the local governments, I guess they're all okay with that. Or is that something that you're just not telling people? Did it ever even come up in their project public hearing for the community? I mean, because if the community is, recently, not long ago, had this hearing, how do we know that this agreement for the data center hasn't already been in play and approved? And they're just letting the hearing play out, the public hearing play out as a formality just to let the residents vent, because basically it's already been a done deal. Your local government may have been discussing this project a long time ago without the community, and maybe already gave the green light, and the community knows nothing about that. Well, here's a domino effect that, overbuilding and overdevelopment and things like the Fort Meade data center can bring. Let me just hit on some of these topics. Although there's so much more to Polk County, we're going to hit on some of these big topics here that is part of this domino effect. And I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. So please try to keep up. I'll slow down, but in some cases I'm going to keep going through because there's so many points to hit here. Okay, unnecessary local inflation. That's one thing. And when I say local inflation, that means that just because it's high in Polk County, that don't mean it's high all over the place. It's just that it's high in Polk County because of all of what's going on in Polk County. So there is a such thing as local inflation. Okay, and then we have the price gouging on top of inflation. They like to call it inflation. No, it's price gouging, because even inflation isn't necessary. It isn't necessary for a lot of reasons, but if they're gonna keep building like that, it's gonna cause more congestion, more people. It's gonna cause a lot more of a domino effect that's going to be more damaging than we would really want it to. I mean, let's take going to the grocery store. You go to the grocery stores, you might get 7 to 10 items in your shopping cart, and already you're over $100. And I'm talking about meats, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, bread, milk, eggs, cereal, flour. I mean, you name it. But you've only gotten something for dinner for one night, in addition to the other little things you needed for groceries. If you can't afford it, you have to wait till your next paycheck in order to be able to afford your grocery. You're going to always be in that 10 items or less line now. More people are starting to get over in that, because how many people is not being affected by this? Even people, when you see them in a grocery store, this so-called inflation, or what I like to call local inflation, it has affected people so much. If you notice, a lot of people are now not even using shopping carts when they're going to supermarkets anymore. They're using the carry baskets, because they don't have much to get, because they don't have a lot to spend anymore. And this is what's happening. And they try to tell you, oh, you're living beyond your means. No, this is the way we've been living. You all have put us behind our means. We have not changed our way of living. The government has changed our way of living. And now you have your inflation on your normal things also. So it's hard to go shopping, because you're going to need, laundry detergent, dish detergent, soap, disinfect, cleaning fluids and all of that, clothes, medication, school supplies, you name it. All of that comes out of your weekly pay. And you can only get but so much for dinner. You can only get so much for food. And let's not even get into a significantly increased in utility bills. That is also part of the domino effect of all of this building, handing permits out. I mean, this is what's happening. If people say, oh, I've never used this kind, well, their rates are increasing, and then now we have to figure why. Why is that? Why are the rates increasing? Who is this? These domino effects is going to hit hard on the people being displaced due to enhanced financial struggles and hardships, who are in our 55 and up communities, especially those on a fixed income and those with disabilities or taking care of loved ones or someone with disabilities. There will be an increase in people being displaced in those communities. And what about our 54 and below community? Our young adults, our 54 down to 18-year-old adults, they really can't afford much, nothing, let alone buy a house. So that is where we're headed. And we're trying not to get that way, people. We're trying not to, well, it's already headed there. So we need to turn this around before this hits a bad point. Once that happens, we have our Polk County home values will start going down. People can't afford rent and mortgage anymore. So what's going to happen? There's going to be an increase of rental evictions and an increase of foreclosures. This is the reality of things when you're overdeveloping your county or your communities without your the say or the influence or the participation of your voters. You don't care what your voters think, because you're so far out of touch with them. And then what happens next in that domino effect? People start becoming homeless. Now you need money to deal with the homeless citizens that the local government has helped make homeless because of all of this building, these policies, these laws. You can't say that people became homeless because of drugs and this and that. Sometimes, in many cases, though, I mean, believe it or not, that's not what drove people to become homeless. And what's going to happen after that? Crime increases, because those people who are trying to hang on by a thread, trying to feed themselves or their family, they're going to be out there committing crime. And it's going to hurt the people who, don't want to commit crimes. They're going to still try to fight, but there are weak people who will still try to commit the crimes. And what happens then? Then people start trying to sell their houses, which they can't really, they're going to have a hard time selling now, because most of the people you're trying to sell it to don't have no money. They can't afford it because of what you're trying to sell it for. You're trying to sell your house for all of this money, knowing 2 years ago it was 50% less than what you bought it for. 50% less than what you're trying to sell it for now. So this is not just for the homeowners. This is also for, commercial companies and, people who own condominiums and apartment buildings. If they're trying to sell, it's not going to sell fast. And if it does, it's going to sell extremely slow. Why? Because this is part of the domino effect. This, and unfortunately, we're going to have a fortunate displacement of Florida's wildlife. Because why? They're taking their natural habitat. And I don't know about you all, but in the last 2 to 3 years, have you all seen a lesser amount of butterflies? I haven't. I mean, they're becoming more and more scarce, it seems like, every year. Why is that? Because we're taking their habitat. They're building all over the place, and they're taking their habitats. That's why people are finding bears in their trash cans and stuff. Coyotes running across their front yard, and it's just so much going on that everybody and everything is being displaced. And your local government is sitting back just watching this unfold. Even traffic has become constant traffic and congestion with all of this building, and the roads are stressed. They can't handle this. The roads can't handle it. And you know what happens? An increase in auto accidents begins to start, being on a rise. I mean, you already see they're already happening now, but an increase, wow. So you figure that's from stress, congestion, and mental anguish. See, the people are trying to get to work. They're trying to get to work. But when you're trying to get to work, a significant increase in travel time, gas uses, and electric auto charging is going to all increase and become part of that issue that you saw here. Because people are rushing, trying to get to work, because now you're no longer, 15 or 20 minutes away from work. You're now 40 to 45 minutes away from work, and the job hasn't moved, and neither have you. Your home is still there. But it's the traffic volume. It's that traffic volume that causes so much time loss that, and it's from building all of these stores, all of these retailers, all of these new homes, apartment complexes. You now have more homes and apartments than you have buyers. So that's an awful thing, and then before they say, oh, we got more buyers than we have homes, so that causes things to go up, but a lot of this stuff can be controlled under our county laws and policies. And of course, with all of that, the domino effect is also going to be what? An increase in insurance rates. That's a given, especially because what? Increased car accidents, increased crime on, people can break into people's houses, cars, businesses. The rates are going to go up, and they're going to add, they're going to double dip and increase them rates more than what they need to. Everybody's going to take advantage of this time, but this is what we need to get in there and tackle. We have to vote me in so we can tackle all of this. I mean, even the property taxes have gone up, and they keep going up. Why are they continuing to go up? Why? Because they're continuing to build. They're continuing to give out, these permits to developers, and the citizens are having to pay for all of this. And it's getting to the point where they can't even live hardly anymore. And it's on the verge of gentrification. And I personally believe some of Florida have already been gentrified. But Polk County is on the verge of gentrification, if it hasn't already happened or begun. And we have to be careful of that. You want to avoid that. Gentrification is out with the old and incapable, in with the new and financially capable. So it's bad because those people who've been working all their lives, living all their lives there, now all of a sudden the government wants you out, so they can just twist your arm and push you on out. They can twist your arm by tackling your pockets, even if you've been there all your life. And that's not right. That's really kind of stealing your life, stealing your land. It's forcing you out of something that you shouldn't have to be forced out of. No one should have the right to force you out of your home. If you're comfortably in there and everything is paid up to date and you can handle it, financially, you shouldn't have to be forced out of your home by your local government, and these little underlying slick tactics that are being done to kind of force you out. That's unfair. And if we're going to continue down this hurried path of community destruction, then we can all say goodbye to that American pie, having a piece of that American pie, or that American dream of having a home or whatever. You may as well say goodbye to that. That's almost unheard of anymore. And so it feels like to me somebody hit a reset button. And if I'm not mistaken, I think a former presidential candidate said that back in 2016, that they was ready to hit a reset button. I believe, even though that person didn't get into office, I believe that reset button was hit, and boy, is it ugly and nasty, because the states are following through and the governments are sitting there watching. And how about these things here? I'm sure a lot of you have been having problems with your computer performance, or your phones are rolling slow. Your smart TVs seem dumb. Your smart refrigerators don't know what's in the refrigerator no more. Everything seems to be slowing down. Disconnected calls dropping. I mean, this is all from overdevelopment and building, because the cable companies or the actual internet holders and Wi-Fi, they having a hard time keeping up with it. So that's why you see them having to take down your internet services for an hour or two while they do maintenance, because they have to keep upgrading and keep doing their maintenance. Because why? Because Polk County keep building. They keep handing out these permits all over the place, and the cable companies and the Wi-Fi and telephone companies, they have to try to keep up with it, as well as the utility companies. So somebody got to pay for all of this, and it's not going to be those developers. And let's look at this here. Florida is the fastest, actually not Florida, but Polk County. Let's narrow it down. Polk County is the fastest growing county in the state of Florida, and the fourth fastest growing county in the entire nation. That is a lot of counties that Polk County is being compared to. And I'm gonna tell you, it's that's not good if it's not progressing and growing in the right way. I mean, it came in within the top 5. So that means that this growth is growing too fast, and the people themselves, the residents, is having a hard time keeping up with it financially, let alone the county itself is having a hard time keeping up with it, because the money isn't being fairly or evenly distributed. It can't possibly be being distributed evenly. So we got to find out, okay, this money is going where? It's going where? It's going to our county, our county local governments. And what are they doing with this money? Again, what are they doing with it? Where is it going? Who is it going to? Is it going to our school districts? Because from a couple of teachers I've spoken with, some of them said they haven't even received their increase from the time DeSantis promised it back in 2022 or 2023. So where is this money going? That's something that we need to look into. That's something we need to vote for. That's why I say the name of this campaign is Vote to Make It Make Sense. Let's make it make sense, people. And stop worrying about, oh, well, the county won't be able to pay, for the first responders and this and that. Stop worrying about the county's wallet. Their wallets are lined and lined very well, fat and stacked. It's you who are broke with no money. It's you whose wallet is empty because you have to keep giving your wallet up. You're the one who don't have any money. So stop worrying about what the county can't pay and worry about what you can't pay. The county will be just fine. That's why we must vote in order to make life more affordable. Just one step towards that, and that is vote the property tax elimination. Vote for that. it should be just one question. Do you want the property taxes eliminated? Yes, we do. Do you want property taxes? No, we don't. So don't go into all them other questions, because they got all these questions here they want you to answer. I think you have to have about a 60% approval from the residents or voters. But if you answer all of those questions, it will never get 60%, and therefore the property tax elimination proposal will never get through. Find the one question on the voting card and just answer that one question. Don't answer the rest of them. Do you want property taxes eliminated? Yes. Or however they have it worded. Do you want property taxes? No, I don't want property taxes. Remember, people, it's only on the primary residence. It is not on your property rentals. If you have multiple properties, it's not on the businesses. They still have to pay. You still have to pay on those. And it did not eliminate your school taxes. It's just the property tax on the main house that you live in. That's all. So stop worrying about who can't get paid, because Florida has made sure it is very lucrative in making money and generating its wealth. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the money comes back into our community, not keep flying out of our community. We don't want our money to keep flying out of the community and going somewhere that we'll never see it again. We want to bring our money back into the community so the community can get established and be more healthy and productive than what's going on now. Okay, so people, remember, vote out all the power players and big hitters. Vote out greed. Stop voting for the same kind of people. Vote like your life depends on it. Just simply vote them out. And vote for Elisha Gresham. Okay, and with that being said, people, I appreciate you and thank you so very much. So again, on November 3rd, vote for Elisha Gresham for Polk County Board of Commissioners, District 4. Let's make it make sense. And also, remember, find out where your polling station is if you have to do early voting. It's important that you start planning that now. Before you know it, time will roll right up on us. So again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Elisha Gresham's campaign video for Florida's Polk County Board of Commissioners, District number 4. Vote me in, people. If voting me in is voting yourselves in on November 3rd, 2026. This video, again, was approved by me, Elisha Gresham. Let's make it make sense, people. Let's make it make sense. And again, please stay blessed and safe.